The moon hung low in the sky, casting a pallid light over the restless sea. Waves crashed against the weathered hull of the Dark Serpent, a ship as feared as the man who captained it. The figurehead, a menacing Kraken, seemed almost alive in the eerie glow. The crew whispered tales of a curse, a dark legend that haunted their every voyage. Each man aboard knew the stories, but none dared speak them aloud, for fear the curse might hear and awaken. Captain Grimshaw Blackwell, a name whispered in terror across the seven seas, stood at the prow, his eyes glinting with the promise of plunder. His presence alone sent shivers down the spines of even the bravest sailors. The moonlight cast eerie shadows on his face as his ship cut through the fog, a harbinger of doom. Rumors of a vast treasure hidden in the depths of the abyssal trench had reached his ears, and Blackwell, ever the greedy soul, had set sail immediately. The promise of untold riches was too tempting to resist. With a crew of hardened sailors and a ship built for the harshest seas, Blackwell ventured into the unknown, driven by greed and the lure of the mysterious treasure. The crew, a ragged bunch of pirates hardened by years of ruthless deeds, muttered among themselves about the dangers that lay ahead. They spoke in hushed tones of the Kraken, a beast so monstrous that it could drag entire ships to a watery grave. Fear gripped their hearts as they recalled tales of its tentacles wrapping around hulls, pulling them into the depths. As the ship drew closer to the trench, the water grew darker, almost black, and an eerie silence settled over the sea. The crew's nervous chatter died down, replaced by the creaking of the ship and the distant calls of unseen creatures. The tension was palpable, each sailor feeling the weight of the unknown depths below. Blackwell, dismissing their fears, barked orders to drop anchor. "We'll dive at dawn," he declared, his voice a harsh rasp against the stillness. The crew, though hesitant, obeyed, their movements slow and deliberate. The anchor splashed into the dark waters, sending ripples through the eerie silence. Blackwell stood firm, his eyes fixed on the horizon, as if daring the unknown to challenge him. That night, the sea was unnaturally calm. The pirates slept fitfully, haunted by nightmares of tentacles and a gaping maw filled with razor-sharp teeth. Blackwell, however, was undeterred. He sat in his cabin, poring over an ancient map that promised untold riches. The air was thick with tension, and the silence was deafening. Just before dawn, a fog rolled in, thick and impenetrable. The crew stirred uneasily, the air heavy with anticipation. Blackwell emerged from his cabin, his eyes gleaming with determination. "Prepare the diving bell," he commanded. The crew moved swiftly, their faces set with grim resolve, knowing the dangers that lay ahead. As the massive iron bell was lowered into the inky depths, the crew exchanged worried glances. Blackwell entered the bell alone, clutching the map to his chest. The world above disappeared as he descended into the abyss, the water growing colder and darker with each passing second. The pressure increased, and the eerie silence was broken only by the creaking of the bell. The map led him to a cave, its entrance framed by jagged rocks. The air was thick with the scent of salt and mystery, and the sound of dripping water echoed through the cavern. As he ventured inside, the lantern revealed walls covered in strange, glowing symbols, each one more intricate than the last. These symbols seemed to tell a story, perhaps of the cave's ancient guardians or the treasures hidden within. The deeper he went, the more the cave seemed to come alive, with shadows dancing on the walls and the faint sound of whispers in the air. At the heart of the cave lay a chest encrusted with barnacles and draped in seaweed, as if it had been lost to the sea for centuries. Blackwell's breath quickened as he approached it, his heart pounding in his chest. He could feel the weight of history and the promise of untold riches just within his grasp. With trembling hands, he pried it open, the creaking of the hinges echoing through the cavern. Inside, the chest was filled to the brim with gold coins, each one glinting in the lantern's light. Jeweled goblets, encrusted with precious stones, lay nestled among the coins, their colors shimmering like a rainbow. And at the very center of the chest, a sapphire the size of his fist, its deep blue depths promising secrets and stories of its own. Blackwell could hardly believe his eyes. This was the treasure he had been searching for, the culmination of years of adventure and peril. As he stood there, bathed in the golden glow of his discovery, he knew that his life would never be the same again. The cave shook, and from the shadows a pair of glowing eyes emerged. Blackwell froze, the lantern shaking in his grasp. The Kraken, its massive form coiling through the water, loomed before him. Its eyes, filled with ancient malice, locked onto his. The water around it churned violently, sending waves crashing against the cave walls. Blackwell's heart pounded as he realized the true terror of the beast before him. Blackwell turned to flee, but it was too late. A tentacle as thick as a tree trunk wrapped around his leg, pulling him back. He screamed, a sound swallowed by the deep. The Kraken dragged him through the water, its grip unrelenting. Blackwell's vision blurred, the pressure crushing his chest. His last sight was the Kraken's maw opening wide, rows of teeth gleaming in the lantern's dying light. Above, on the dark serpent, the crew waited. Hours passed with no sign of their captain. The sea began to churn, waves lashing against the ship. From the depths, a great shadow rose, tentacles writhing in the moonlight. The crew's screams were short-lived as the Kraken's fury descended upon them, dragging the ship into the abyss. The ocean swallowed their cries, leaving only silence. When the fog lifted, the dark serpent was gone, the sea calm once more. In the quiet that followed, the only sound was the distant call of unseen creatures, a chilling testament to the Kraken's curse. The air was thick with an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional splash of water against the hull of a distant ship. The legend spoke of a monstrous beast, the Kraken, whose very presence could command the sea and sky. Mariners whispered tales of its enormous tentacles, capable of dragging entire vessels into the abyss. Many had ventured into these treacherous waters, lured by the promise of unimaginable riches. The treasure, said to be hidden in a chest of gold and jewels, lay somewhere deep beneath the waves, guarded by the Kraken itself. Those who sought it were never seen again, their fates sealed by the curse that protected the hoard. The sea floor was littered with the remnants of their doomed expeditions. Broken masts, shattered hulls, and the skeletal remains of ships that had once sailed proudly. Each wreck told a story of bravery and folly, of men who had dared to challenge the beast and paid the ultimate price. And somewhere, deep in the abyss, the treasure waited, guarded by the beast that had claimed it and the souls of those who had dared to seek it. The Kraken's eyes, glowing faintly in the darkness, watched over its domain, ever vigilant, ever hungry. The curse was not just a tale to frighten children. It was a living, breathing reality, a warning to all who dared to dream of fortune and glory. As the storm clouds gathered on the horizon, the sea began to churn once more, as if the Kraken itself was awakening. The legend of the Kraken's curse was far from over, and the sea held its breath, waiting for the next soul brave or foolish enough to challenge the beast and seek the treasure that lay hidden in the depths.